Hi everybody! I wanted to share my first junk journal with you. I worked on this today and I can see why Crafty Come Lately says that this is the meeting of the right and left brain, because the analytical side of my brain was pretty cranky today as I was working on this. I can see why I was putting off this project, and this isn't even really a complicated junk journal at all, like compared to some of the stuff that I see on YouTube. However, the measuring and the punching, which is just done with a really basic one-hole punch, I was still struggling with, just cutting stuff to size and making sure everything was even and all that good stuff. But I do like how it turned out. It really just fits the first challenge on Junk Journal Junkies on Facebook. They have 3 challenges, and the second one is to make your first junk journal, and it's supposed to have 1 signature with a minimum of 10 pages. So I fulfilled that part of the challenge. As far as the binding, as you can see, I just did a very simple binder ring binding, and now I'm wondering if I can do like duct tape or something over here to give it more of the feel of a real book. But I like that it has a lot of flexibility to take this apart and, put stuff in and rearrange it and kind of reconfigure it. So anyway, originally I was going to do a 1920s theme. I have a lot of like 1920s looking design papers and ephemera and stuff like that, and so that was my plan. But then last night when I started to play with my spray inks, and if you've ever used the color shines, I have a few of these, and I'd forgotten that on gesso these actually tend to bubble. It resists the gesso a little bit, so this, you'll see when I used lots of different colors, it gave this kind of galaxy effect. So that's when I decided to go sort of steampunk with this. So I'm going to call it steampunk-ish because I didn't have enough, steampunk images or stamps or anything to really make it a full-on steampunk junk journal. But I liked this digital file that I had gotten off of Pinterest, and this could also make a really good Halloween journal because this guy is definitely sort of gothic looking and a little bit creepy, but it's steampunk. And I liked how the spray inks in the background, all I really did, it was really easy. I just got really close to the paper with the spray mister and just made some splotches and then turned it this way, and it turned into these really cool looking trees just on its own, all this texture. So that was really neat. And the little pieces of washi tape you see are my little boo-boos from when I punched in too far. It didn't have enough give for you to really flip the pages, so I had to punch closer to the edge of the paper. And then on the backs I'll need to either go over with washi tape or cover that with something. But like I said, this is a work in progress. So far I haven't learned how to do a traditional fold or a pocket in a journal. So what I did in a lot of cases was just kind of made a sort of a make-do envelope. This is an actual envelope, and I cut off the top of it here, and you can see it's coffee dyed, and I used some distress inks, just put them out on my craft mat and then played around, did some splatters and stuff like that. I used a Kaiser Craft dress form stamp over it with some distress embossing powder, and then I thought this was really cute. This is from Trader Joe's, and I thought that little speckaloos really gave it a vintage look. And the coffee dyeing was awesome. I did it outside and it was really warm today, so they dried pretty fast, and I got to, see the coffee dye effect on different types of papers. And I used a lot of papers that I got in my 2 recent hauls from Michael's and from Tuesday Morning. So this is Recollections sheet music paper in the background. And I used an image from a camera book that I showed in a recent library video. I'm going to try to show you the effect. There's a coating on these pictures, and anywhere there's light, it's silver and you can see the metallic, and then it's matte wherever it's dark. Gives it a really neat effect on these black and white photos. And mostly left the backs blank because by the time I had the fronts done, I knew I needed to be done for the day with this journal. Here's another camera book photo, and then I got this from some 13th Hour paper. This is by Kaisercraft. It's actually for Halloween. I had this little clock in the corner, so I cut that out for this page. And I got to use 2 new stamps that I had gotten from the Tuesday Morning haul. That's from Stampendous. I love these little birds because it looks like they're talking to each other. And this is 7 Gypsies Ephemera tucked in there. And on Junk Journal Junkies, they talk about, I think in your 3rd challenge, you need to make a pocket, like a real pocket. So I don't know if this counts as a real pocket. This is from a ghost book. It was just a neat illustration in the beginning of the book. And it's just on some coffee dyed paper. This is DCWB paper, I believe, in the background. And just did some gold stamping, did that little dress form, and some more coffee dyed paper tucked in there. This one, this is my style right here, is the splatter stuff. I just took some of the ink sprays and you know, spritzed them on the craft mat and then just rolled the envelope around in it, and I coffee dyed this little ephemera. So this is how I'm really just doing my pockets right now. I was just either using envelopes or little kind of glued together pieces of paper. This was a steampunk painting I found on Pinterest. A couple of embossed Inka-Dinka-Doo stamps and a clock. And then I used some embossed foil tape. I don't know how well you can see that. It's just the Tim Holtz lettering. And just did some stamping and distressing. And this photo is again from that camera book. This made me think of steampunk just because it's whimsical. And this is parchment paper. And the parchment paper is interesting. It is a little different than wax, and it resists the coffee stain, so there's just speckles of it. And then I stamped some tea dye with a, one of those plastic kitchen thingies that helps you open cans. And then I just cut this out of an old art journal. I thought this had somewhat of a steampunk look because it looks like the moon. And some coffee dyed paper in the background. I believe this was the Momenta paper from Tuesday Morning. And I don't know how well you can see, there's some nice sparkle on that from the Heidi Swap sprays, and I used some of the little fish scale washi. And on the back I used one of the Tim Holtz ATC stamps that I had printed out. And I just went over these, the couple of images that were really white and the white really popped out. Just went over it with some vintage photo to make it blend a little better, make it look a little more vintage. So that's my first junk journal. I would love to hear any suggestions you might have. Another thing I did was I used Elmer's glue sticks to glue down any of the thin paper images because I didn't want the paper to bubble up because, you know, gel medium and anything wet will wrinkle the paper. So I don't know if that's archival, but I have seen people use Elaine's tacky glue. So suggestions, I would love suggestions on that. And on the binding, what is a no-sew binding that I could do for this, because I'm thinking duct tape. So anywho, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!